Hey, it's Kevin DeWitt here. Welcome to another tip, trick, or technique session. This week we are looking at how to control tom bleed manually. So you can use gates and plugins, etc. to control this. But one way I like to do it, because tom hits happen, depending on the song, can happen quite rarely, that it can be quite obvious to actually see the tom hits, and it gives me greater control over what happens by doing it manually. So I have a song here which has 2 tom tracks, and if I just play it, you'll hear what the microphones of those toms have picked up. Now, in the case of this one, the microphones and what they've picked up is not actually too bad. I would probably, in this song here, I would possibly leave it because it doesn't sound too bad at all. But what you will get on some tracks is you'll get these recordings of, you'll hear the other instrumentation playing, but what you'll hear is you'll hear the rumble and the vibration of the toms constantly just sort of going through a song, and they can muddy up your drums and make them sound really horrible. So in that case there, if we just imagine that these don't sound good and they are having that annoying noise, then I would look at controlling that manually by cutting bits out. So let's just check some other spots. So if you do listen to this spot here, you can hear a little bit of rumble from the toms. It's not too bad. Like I said, this song here, I'd probably just leave it because it adds life to the song. You don't have to do this all the time. It's only when there's something not quite right and it just doesn't sound good and it's muddying up your drums. In this case here, like I said, doesn't sound too bad, but you can hear the tom sort of rumbling as the kick hits and that sort of thing. Doing it manually to me is the most precise way of doing it. I have greater control over it. I don't have to sit there for ages trying to control a gate and working out the release and the attack of the gate to make it right, making sure that it cuts out the right instrumentation but not chopping off the sound of your toms, because toms get hit not very frequently through a song. Depending on the song, if you're using toms lots through the song, then obviously I would do this. But the best way to do it for me, it's a little time consuming, but I'll usually do this, up front when I'm just not in a mixing phase, but in a cleanup phase of my mix. I will come in and trim the toms so that all of the other noise and instrumentation is cut out. So for instance, I'll come along here like this. So I'll zoom it out here. And we'll start with one tom at a time. And you'll hear there was a hit. Right there. So in this case here, I might decide to bring it up here. I'll put a fade on the start so that we don't get any clicks. And then I might trim it there and fade out the end. And then I'll just go through the song. And a lot of the time you can visually see where a tom hits because it'll usually be the loudest part. So we've got another hit over here. So we're just going to bring that up. And we're just going to do what we did before. And this is why I said it's a little, possibly a little bit tedious. It takes a little bit of time. There's another hit there. Depending on the recording, sometimes it can be even more obvious than this. You can just see these giant tom hits pick up, like say this one here. This one's going to be probably a little bit more obvious. So you'll see these couple of spikes here. Most likely they're going to be tom hits. And they were. So we can find the spike there. Just zoom in a bit. Making sure you do a fade at the start and at the end, because you don't want to get any clicks or pops by having chopped in the middle of a waveform, that's what will happen if you don't do a fade. Now, it sounds weird when you play it in isolation, but when you add it to the rest of the drum kit, it does not sound unnatural at all. Okay, so we've got a nice one here. Whoops. So there you go. There's one tom track. And as I said, if you play it in isolation, it's going to sound really weird. But if you add it to the rest of the drum track, which we'll do later. So then what I'll do is move on to the second tom and third and fourth if you've got them, and do the same steps. And there you go. You've got your toms edited there. So isolation, that's what they sound like. But in the scheme of the drum kit, it sounds like this. So you can get a nice clean drum sound there. So if I was to expand that back out and this one here, this is what it would sound like. As opposed to this. So you can hear the difference. There's quite a lot of difference. The drums become a lot cleaner, a lot tighter. Now, in this case here, as I stated, the tom mics weren't too bad. So in this case here, I probably would leave it because it was adding some nice life to the drums, which I feel we've sort of stripped out a little bit. But you can imagine if those toms were rumbling with annoying frequencies and annoying noise, how that sitting across the drums the entire time would really make you have some unpleasant, muddy sort of drums. So to take them away and clean them up like that can really give you some really great, powerful drums that sound clean and not messy. So try that out on your next mix. Hopefully this video has been helpful for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.